Hey friends, good morning. Grace and I are really excited to be doing some fall garden cleanup with you today, aren't we, Grace? Today we're going to be taking a lot of plants out of the border. We're going to be putting some dahlia tubers into storage, harvesting more dahlia seed, but basically what I want to do is clear out everything from the main flower walk that's going to die overnight so that I can really just look at the bones of my garden and decide where to place all my remaining allium and tulip bulbs. We're also going to be cutting back some peonies out of necessity, cutting back iris. So let me just go ahead and walk you through all the gardens, point out what we're going to work on today, and then we'll just get right to work. So right next to Grace, we need to go ahead and cut back those bearded iris. You can also see a lot of holes in my garden already where I've started to pull out certain plants. The seed dahlias over here, I'm just going to go ahead and cut back and mulch lightly and see if they come back next year. And some of the seed dahlias, we're going to go ahead and dig up and store the tubers. And depending on how those tubers come out of the ground, we'll either store them dirty or store them in plastic wrap. And I have videos and/or articles on how to do both of those things. We have some shrubs in pots that definitely need to get in the ground before the first frost tonight. You can see some seed dahlias back here that we're just going to cut down to the ground. There's some peonies back there that need cut back to the ground. I also have decided to cut back some of my smooth and panicle hydrangeas in the fall, and that's because I did a lot of daffodils in the border already, and I wanted to get as close to the root zone as possible with those daffodils. So we have a big river of daffodils right here. I pretty much have the hydrangea room prepped for the winter season. I do want to add in a few more hellebores, and I want to mulch this area. I added in, I think it was 450 double daffodils into this garden, and the same thing here. I decided to cut back the smooth and panicle hydrangeas, just some of them, so that I could really get in as many daffodils as possible. This is a one-time pruning situation that I wanted to do just so I could get in all these daffodils, and then they'll perennialize, multiply, and come back year after year. But in order to get them really as close to the root zone of these shrubs as possible, I needed to go ahead and cut them back in the fall. So I don't think we'll be spending too much time, if any, in this garden today. And I also did some bulbs in pots in this area. Check out this foxglove blooming over here. They usually do make it through the winter as long as they're planted in an area that has really good drainage. We don't need to do much here at the stone rug. I have 2 bulb lasagnas. I think I'll do one more bulb lasagna pot. And once again, I cut back this hosta so I could add in lots of daffodils. I really went big on the daffodils in this garden this year. You guys know I did a big round of daffodils in the driveway garden last year. There I am. Sorry about the shadows today. Over here, we have a peony to cut back. Look at the amazing fall foliage on this fothergilla. This is a blue shadow fothergilla, and it really looks like a gorgeous summer sunset, doesn't it? You're getting so many colors here: orange, red, crimson, blue, and purple. It's just amazing. And the light's a little funny right here, but when it's overcast, this area looks so beautiful. We won't be doing anything in the raised beds today, but as soon as the frost hits tonight, we'll come back a few days later, cut back all of these dahlias. What I'm going to do is dig up Saving Grace on both ends, dig up Goodness Gracious in the front, and I'm actually going to be sending those tubers to Jung Seed for propagation. But we'll wait until the frost hits to take those out. Check out the cup and saucer, not skipping a beat in this really, really cold weather. Isn't it beautiful? I just love this plant so much. So it did finally twine itself all around the solar lights, but I didn't anticipate it being as heavy as it is, and you can see it's kind of pulled the solar lights down, but it did manage to touch in the middle right before the first frost. So here we have one of my Saving Grace babies, so let's go ahead, dig it up, and see what the tubers look like. This is a 2nd year seedling at this point. I've got a nice big tuber clump. And I think what I'm going to do now that I see the size of this tuber clump is I'm going to go ahead and just store it dirty. So when I'm storing dahlia tuber clumps, for me in my really humid climate, the best way that I've found to do this is to dig the clumps and store them dirty, which means you leave all of the soil on the tuber. I don't ever wash my dahlia tubers unless I'm going to divide them and store them in plastic wrap. And I can put a link to an article I wrote in regards to that, because I'm not sure if we'll be doing that or not today. But we've dug it up. Now what I'm going to do is put it upside down just out here on a bench to drip dry for the remainder of the time that I'm working out here. And then I'll slip these into labeled brown paper bags. I'll put the brown paper bags into cardboard boxes with holes and store those in my unheated basement. And that's pretty much the only way that I store dahlia tubers, with the exception of storing really, really valuable ones in plastic wrap. So now let's dig up this first year seedling and see what the tubers look like. The plant is really big and healthy. I like the overall structure of the plant. I definitely want to keep it. I see we have a bumblebee right here. Let me just put him somewhere else first. Today's date is October 31st for frame of reference, and the first frost is going to happen tomorrow. And of course, I could wait for the first frost to take these dahlia plants out and dig the tubers, but it's perfectly fine to dig them a little bit sooner also. Some people feel that waiting until the first frost helps the dahlia tubers store a little bit better. And I'll put some links to articles on that in the description section below so that you can make the decision that you feel is right for you. So this first year seedling produced a lot of tubers too. And of all of Saving Grace's babies, this one looked almost exactly like her. Let's take a closer look. Beautiful. I'm so excited to see the result of how many tubers these seedlings have produced that I'm going to go ahead and dig up one more. This one also looks similar to Saving Grace. Now I'm going to leave the rest in the garden, mainly because I don't mind if they don't come back. If they do, that's a great added bonus, but I collected so much seed from all of these that we'll have plenty of dahlias to grow from seed next year. But this is basically what you would do if you really liked a seedling that you grew and you wanted that variety to come true to cultivar next year. I broke one of the tubers here, so I'll cut that off before I put it in storage. Now that is truly a beautiful sight. These look like really great tuber producers. So we'll go ahead and store all these dirty. I've never tried storing dahlias in a storage medium. I've never tried wood shavings, peat moss. I've seen some people do newspaper. I'll put a link to the American Dahlia Society in the description section below, because there's a lot of great articles from different people in different areas with different storage facilities talking about the best storage methods for them. When I first started growing dahlias, I just stored them dirty because it seemed really easy, and more importantly, it was free. And then when I saw that it worked, I never really tried any of those other storage methods aside from the plastic wrap, which does work really well. Just for comparison, I want to go ahead and dig up this Islander dahlia. When I received this tuber, the tuber was not really in good condition, and I think I ended up dividing it down to just a single tuber with one eye. So let's dig it up and see what this Islander dahlia produced underground. Oh, what a difference. So only a few tubers here, and if I see something like this, where these tubers are going to be really, really easy to divide and it's not a ginormous clump covered in soil, I would definitely go ahead, wash this down, let it dry, wrap it in plastic wrap, and store it like that. Friends, I'm leaving about a 5-inch stem so that when we go to plant our bulbs, I can remember where these dahlias are. Sometimes it's got to get worse before it gets better, right friends? That's how I always feel this time of year. Friends, if you recall that video I did really early on in the season, called Which Lobelia Can Beat the Heat and Humidity? The answer is neither. They both succumb to our heat and humidity by mid-June. Hey, princess. So I've been cutting back my peonies for a few weeks now, but you can see we have powdery mildew on here, botrytis trying to wreak havoc on the plant. So I'm just going to cut it all the way down to the ground, and I'm going to trash all the foliage. And then just so I know where it is, I'm going to put this hoop back here for now until all my bulbs are in. Same thing with this peony here. I'm just going to cut it all the way back, trash all the foliage. Anything diseased I want to get out of my garden before we head into winter. I'm going to go ahead and pull this Gomphrena too, because it's going to die tonight. Then we'll be all ready to get tons of tulips in the ground later this week. Since my area is really hot and humid during the summer months, I deal with a lot of fungal issues. We cut back some bearded iris the other day together, and one thing that I should have mentioned is that I also like to check for iris borer when I'm cleaning my bearded irises up. I'm gonna go ahead and cut back my lilies too. Once again, I like to leave a little stub so that I can clearly see where these bulbs are located at, so that if I want, I could plant some tulips around them. You can also move your lilies right now if you want. Cut them back just like this, and then move them wherever you want them for next year. I like to dig them up with a pitchfork, just like we did with the dahlias, and then just transplant them to wherever I want them for next season. This is the little quickfire hydrangea that we had in a pot over on the deck, and the root system was able to fill up that pot in just about 3 months' time. Some people have asked me about what we do with our rain barrel over the winter season, and friends, I know my husband does something. I think he just closes it up for the winter, but I'll double check with him and get back to you on that really soon. Speaking of my husband, if you're looking for a really wonderful Christmas movie that you can enjoy with the whole family, my husband is in a new movie that's coming out called I Heard the Bells, and I was able to see it in theaters last year, and it was just such a beautiful Christmas movie, good for the whole family. It's shot right here in our area by Sight and Sound Films, which is what I used to do for a living, was work over at Sight and Sound. That's where I met my husband. But if you're interested in watching the movie, you can pre-order it now on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description section below. Let's get back to work. So now I'd like to make another bulb lasagna. The other day we made one with a base of tulips, a middle layer of daffodils, and a top layer of crocus. Grace is having a sneezing attack over here. But today I think I'm just going to do 2 layers of tulips. So yet again, I filled my pot here where there's about 10 inches to 12 inches from the soil line to the top of the pot. So we want to plant these 10 to 12 inches deep. Grace, you got the sniffles, honey? And I'm using a tulip variety called Apricot Delight. I grew it a few years ago and it bloomed really early, bloomed right around Easter time for me here in Zone 6B. And it was just lovely. More of a pink. Bless you. Now I'm just going to cover that with about 1 inch or 2 of soil. Now we'll add another layer of tulips. Same tulip variety. think my camera turned off for a second, but it's really cool because what happens is the base layer of bulbs, when they start to sprout, the sprouts just simply move around the bulbs above, and so you're able to fit in a lot more bulbs into a pot than if you would just do one massive layer of bulbs 6 inches deep. So really fun. I'll get these all watered in, and I think I'm just going to display them here on the stone rug. So we'll have a really nice Easter display right here. I think that'll be really beautiful. But friends, more of the same going on here today, but for now I think I'll wrap up today's video. Oh, hold on. If you can see in the very far distance there, that bag there, I did put the dahlias in that Aldi brown paper bag, and that'll just go in a cardboard box and into the basement for storage. So for now, I want to wish you a wonderful day out there in your gardens. And Grace and I say happy gardening. Bye. Thanks, Grace.